Ganch is a reckless young man who relies on money sent by his mother, who works in America. Having squandered his wealth after selling his apartment, he now lives in a rented place. His reputation as a compulsive liar and glutton earned him the nickname Snake Oil during his school days. This unflattering characterization comes from his former classmate Sat, a young scientist working in the laboratory of a renowned professor. Surprisingly, the professor quickly selects Ganch as a participant for an upcoming experiment. At that moment, Ganch is basking in the attention of a beautiful woman, but his moment of triumph is cut short when his landlord, Margarita, arrives. Thinking fast, he introduces his companion as his fiancée to defuse the situation. Margarita, however, demands payment for the previous month's rent. In response, Ganch confidently claims he is about to marry the daughter of a wealthy and influential man, assuring her that all his financial troubles will soon be resolved. Later, Ganch and his fiancée, Melina, are enjoying themselves at a restaurant when Rosmi, one of his creditors, appears and demands repayment. Ganch reassures him that once his marriage takes place, his debts will be settled. Satisfied with this promise, Rosmi lets him go. Shortly afterward, Ganch contacts his associate, informing him that potential buyers will soon arrive to inspect his karaoke cafe, which he hopes to sell for a good price. To make the business seem successful, Ganch enlists his friends to act as customers, creating the illusion of a thriving establishment. Upon arriving at the cafe, he explains the plan to them, urging them to make the place look busy. When the potential buyer finally arrives, he is already aware of Ganch's financial troubles. Despite this, Ganch almost manages to deceive him, until one of his friends accidentally exposes the ruse, causing the buyer to walk away. Later, Ganch is taken to a secret laboratory where the professor begins explaining his groundbreaking discovery. However, Ganch, being rather dim-witted, fails to grasp the significance of the explanation. Sat steps in to clarify, revealing that under the professor's supervision, they have developed a highly realistic female android named Rosali. Her appearance is nearly indistinguishable from that of a real human. To complete her transformation, she must experience a full range of human emotions. Ganch is assigned to live with her for a month as part of her testing phase. However, upon seeing Rosali, he is unimpressed. The professor reassures him that with an upgrade, she will be even more beautiful than a real woman. He also offers Ganch a generous reward for his participation. Despite the incentives, Ganch refuses, claiming he is getting married soon. The professor asks Sat to find another candidate, but Sat insists that Ganch will return. Later, Ganch meets with Melina's father, Cheyenne, who views people as either predators or herbivores. Eager to impress him, Ganch boldly declares that he is a hybrid. Cheyenne, however, is convinced that Ganch is nothing more than a cunning rabbit who always finds a way to escape trouble. He initially struggles to accept his daughter's choice, but Melina insists that they are in love. Reluctantly, Cheyenne agrees, but demands that Ganch pay for Melina's wedding dress, and, most importantly, remain a loyal husband. He warns that failure to do so will have serious consequences. Realizing the pressure he is under, Ganch calls the professor and agrees to participate in the experiment, but only on the condition that Rosali is customized to his preferences. The professor drives to the karaoke cafe to finalize the confidentiality agreement with Ganch, emphasizing that the discovery must remain a secret. Rosali is an extraordinary creation, potentially worth tens of millions of dollars. Sat is also aware that foreign parties, particularly from Pakistan, are already showing interest in the technology. Just then, Ganch notices a stunning woman entering the cafe and assumes she is Rosali. Eagerly, he rushes to present her with flowers, only to be disappointed by her appearance. He criticizes her chest, which angers the woman, and she momentarily punishes him in retaliation. Sat quickly apologizes on Ganch's behalf, explaining the mix-up, though Ganch has already realized his mistake. When he finally meets the real Rosali, their introduction begins with a dance that greatly impresses the professor. Later, Ganch brings Rosali home, where she immediately tidies up the place and prepares a delicious meal for him. Intrigued, Ganch decides to test her abilities as a woman, but soon discovers that she has no understanding of romantic relationships. He calls Sat, who admits that Rosali's romantic functions have not yet been activated. The only way for her to progress is if Ganch treats her like a real person, gradually winning her over as he would with a human woman. However, just as he starts his attempts at courtship, Rosali unexpectedly switches to standby mode. The next morning, Ganch goes to a bridal salon to buy Melina's wedding dress. However, at the entrance, he is confronted by Rosmi, who is still waiting for his promised money. Meanwhile, Melina arrives. Upon seeing her, Rosmi is instantly smitten and offers to help choose the dress, pretending to be a designer. Together, they all enter the salon. At the same time, Rosali takes an elevator with Margarita and Ganch's neighbor. Meanwhile, inside the bridal salon, Razmik continues admiring Melina's beauty. Just then, Margarita calls Gonch, angrily accusing him of subletting her apartment. Realizing she is talking about Rosali, Gonch quickly asks Razmik to return the borrowed money, hoping to avoid an embarrassing scene in front of Melina. Reluctantly, Razmik hands over a small sum of money. Gonch then rushes home, persuades Margarita to be patient, and introduces Rosali as his fiancée. At that moment, Sat calls, requesting that Gonch take Rosali out so they can observe how she interacts with people. Meanwhile, Melina texts him, praising the designer, who, to Gonch's surprise, is actually her creditor, Razmik's. She is so impressed by his artistic sense that she wants his input on other items and asks that the payment for her dress be sent. Just then, the elevator doors open, and Rosali returns. Annoyed that she went out without permission, Gonch confronts her, but she explains she had only gone grocery shopping and presents a card given to her by the lab. This immediately lifts Gonch's spirits, and he rushes to the store to buy her a bouquet of flowers. However, Rosali doesn't understand their significance. Gonch explains that men gift flowers to express their emotions. As she smells them, she admits that her vestibular circuit is reacting, causing a sensation similar to dizziness. This moment is instantly recorded in the lab, where the scientists celebrate. It marks the first instance of a synthetic hormone being triggered by an emotional response. Later, Gonch takes Rosali to a karaoke bar to meet his friends. To their amazement, she joins their conversation about cryptocurrency with impressive insights. When one of the men's girlfriends mentions her love for Japanese poetry, Rosali effortlessly recites verses in fluent Japanese. To cover up the truth, Gonch quickly lies, claiming she studied in Tokyo. One of Gonch's friends pulls him aside, bluntly stating that he doesn't understand why a woman like Rosali would be interested in him. He calls Gonch a liar, drowning in debt, and even points out that he snores, hardly an attractive trait. Despite the insults, Gonch and Rosali remain unfazed, exchanging flirtatious glances. Razmik, witnessing this interaction, is outraged, believing Gonch is cheating on Melina. To avoid suspicion, Gonch lies, saying Rosali is a singer at his karaoke bar. Razmik is unconvinced, but Rosali takes the microphone and delivers a breathtaking song. Realizing he has no proof of deception, Razmik leaves, while Gonch is left captivated by Rosali's performance. Later, as they stroll through the city, Rosali enjoys the scenery. Upon returning home, she surprises Gonch with a traditional Japanese dinner. Curious about human nature, she asks why people lie. Gonch explains that life is complicated, and sometimes deception is necessary. Rosali disagrees, arguing that in mathematics, lies cannot exist. To illustrate his point, Gonch uses an example of reselling a car, but Rosali instantly calculates the outcomes and exposes the dishonesty. Unexpectedly, Rosali expresses a desire to understand lies better. The professor is soon informed that she has downloaded books on poker strategy and the art of bluffing, indicating her growing interest in human behavior. While Gonch teaches Rosali how to play poker, she quickly surpasses him, winning every round. The scientists observe that her victories trigger the production of synthetic adrenaline. When Gonch tells her to get dressed, they notice she has downloaded directions to a casino. To distract her, they activate the wedding night function. Instantly, Rosali shifts her focus, commanding Gonch to follow her into the bedroom. Stunned by this unexpected turn, he forgets everything else. The neighbors notice the shaking of the house, and by morning, Gonch barely manages to step out of the bedroom. In desperation, he calls Sat, who promises to adjust Rosali's intensity, just as she finds him again. At that moment, the wedding night function weakens, and Rosali suddenly remembers their original plan. They head to the casino, where she easily defeats every opponent. On the way home, Gonch basks in the envious stares of others, thrilled that, for the first time, people admire him for the stunning woman beside him. Overcome with excitement, he kisses her. However, as they near his home, they are confronted by Shehan, who has been informed that his future son-in-law was spotted in a casino with another woman. Thinking quickly, Gonch lies, introducing Rosali as his sister, who just arrived from America. Rosali plays along convincingly, and Shehan believes the story. Upstairs, Gonch confesses to Rosali that he is getting married soon. Unexpectedly, Rosali reacts with distress, admitting she doesn't want to part ways with him yet. She even feels an urge to hit him. The astonished scientists observe as she exhibits a full spectrum of emotional responses. Realizing she is experiencing jealousy, overwhelmed, Rosali hurls a statue against the wall to vent her frustration before suddenly embracing Gonch. The scientists are further stunned when the wedding night function activates on its own, proving that Rosali is evolving beyond her programming and experiencing genuine emotions. Meanwhile, after composing himself, Gonch steps into the hallway, only to find Razmik and his bodyguard sitting at his table. Razmik, having learned of Ganch's casino winnings, has come to collect his share. He orders Ganch to drop his act and face Milena like the coward he truly is. The next day, Shahin discovers Razmik with Milena on his lawn. As the men introduce themselves, Shahin is impressed by Razmik's business acumen. At that moment, Ganch is serving Rosali breakfast when he receives a call from Shahin. To his surprise, Shahin praises Ganch's sister and requests a proper introduction at a restaurant that evening. Enthusiastic about the possibility of a new family connection, he eagerly outlines the future family tree of Ganch. Ganch tries to send Rosali back to the lab, but she insists on meeting Shahin first, promising to resolve the situation. That evening, they meet at a restaurant, where Rosali impresses Shahin with her deep knowledge of winemaking. Suddenly, Ganch notices Milena and Razmik and steps away to confront them. Meanwhile, Rosali brings up memories of Shahin's late wife, stirring emotions. On the other side of the restaurant, Ganch attempts to start an argument with Milena about her infidelity. But Razmik quickly takes control. As Rosali encourages Shahin to follow his heart and find his true soulmate, Razmik humiliates Ganch and threatens to expose the truth to Milena. Panicked, Ganch rushes back to Rosali, only for her to calmly reveal that she has already told Shahin everything. At home, Shahin opens a photo album of his late wife, lost in thought. Milena then enters and confesses that she is in love with another man and does not want to marry Ganch. Meanwhile, in the lab, the scientists observe that Rosali has started producing melatonin and has fallen asleep like a real human. Realizing their experiment has succeeded, the professor orders her retrieval. The next day, Ganch pays off his debts and parts amicably with Milena. At the karaoke bar, Shahin publicly announces that the wedding is off. However, his attention is soon captured by the bar's singer, and he falls for her instantly. Ganch, meanwhile, buys flowers and rushes home, only to find Rosali missing. He frantically calls the lab, where Sad informs him that they have already taken her back. Desperate, Ganch pleads for a final goodbye, and the scientists agree to a meeting. He asks for Rosali to wear a white dress and meet him in the garden. There, he begs her to run away and marry him. Rosali refuses, explaining that she isn't real and cannot have children, though she has learned to love. As tears fall from her eyes, she is deactivated by Sat, who has already sold her. Ganch tries to intervene but is overpowered. Just then, Razmik arrives to announce his engagement to Milena, inadvertently saving Ganch from further harm. As the buyer arrives, Rosali unexpectedly reactivates and fights to protect Ganch. Sat pulls a gun, ordering her to obey, but when Ganch breaks free, Rosali shields him, taking the bullets in his place. The police arrive, arresting the criminals. Time passes, Sat is imprisoned, Shahin starts a relationship with the karaoke singer, and Milena and Razmik prepare for their wedding. Meanwhile, the scientists launch a new robot. Ganch, now married to Rosali, drives her to the hospital, where she is about to give birth. As he argues with the professor over the phone about their child's name, he fails to notice the paramedics' stunned reaction upon realizing the woman in labor is a robot. The film ends here.